I think I've been thinking about welcoming environments in engineering since I started as an educator over 20 years ago. I have always felt myself a little outside of the norm of engineering. And when I started as a teacher, I really wanted to change that and create a classroom space that was welcoming to all students. I didn't have the words for it at that time. I more thought of it in a larger context of like, I want everyone to feel like they can succeed in my class and that they have my support as they move through an engineering curriculum. Welcoming practices? No. Well, let me back up. For my undergraduate education, I went to a small school in upstate New York, and it just so happened it was the first time they had ever had gender parity in mechanical engineering. It was a small cohort. So I didn't really know. I thought that was the norm. I was like, oh, this is great. There's all these women. Why are they talking about this being hard? Like, I have all these friends. And then I went to grad school, and that's when reality hit. And I felt for the first time like, this isn't something I can do. I don't belong here. I remember I was in tears through grad school. I don't know how I got through. It was very gendered. It was very weed out culture. I wasn't interested in many of the projects. A lot of the jobs, a lot of the projects were focused on things that I didn't care about or I was ethically opposed to. As far as in the classroom, it was really traditional. It was faculty comes in, they lecture, they leave. You don't ask them questions. You talk to the TA. So I think a lot has changed, thankfully, at that institution and here and in engineering education and education generally since then. But I did not experience that myself. So when I started thinking about, when I started teaching, I wasn't thinking, I'm going to create a welcoming environment. It was more subconscious, I think. I think I was like, I'm going to do this a little different in a way that makes sure that everybody can come ask me questions and it's okay to ask questions. Because I never wanted to ask a question in class. I would never ask a question. I would just be okay not knowing and then find a way to look it up later. So I guess the short answer to that is my whole teaching career, maybe even before that, really wanting to focus on welcoming spaces, creating welcoming spaces, and not just, even before teaching in industry, wanting to make sure that people felt good in their workplace. People felt happy. I cared about people. I wanted to be on a team. I wanted to work with people. It was more important to me than the engineering work. So I think it's something that has been part of my goal in life generally, is creating space for people to be authentic and comfortable and to bring themselves and their ideas and their unique ways of being and doing to the field. Back around 2018, 2019, we gathered some institutional data, and we learned through those surveys that, first was an easy thing to see is that as our degree programs were becoming more competitive, we were seeing a decrease in diversity, specifically women and people of color. We're not choosing even to apply to our programs. So that was a big moment of, we have to do something about this. And then on the other side of that, we looked at students at the pre-major level. Women and people of color had a lower sense of belonging than their counterparts. And that was all across the board for our students in engineering and design. So the department chair at the time decided, we're going to focus on pre-major students and we want to change the environment. And that's when I came on at Western, and I put together a proposal. I went around and interviewed all the faculty and talked to a bunch of students and put together a proposal for updating our first year curriculum. If you can imagine a student coming in who has never used a saw or a hammer, they were at a real disadvantage to somebody who had had those technical experiences. We wanted to level the playing field and make sure that we created a starting point for students that recognized that people come in with different levels of prior knowledge, so that all those folks could be successful or have the potential to progress through engineering. The goals were to better prepare students for the major and to increase student engagement earlier in their academic career. So looking at things like getting them involved, getting them connected, helping them develop mentors or connect them with mentors. There's a lot of effort put into creating a different experience for our first year students.